we're starting out the day mixed. NASDAQ is in the green, Dow, S&P in the red. So I don't know. Wall Street seems to be unsure about what to do now. Is this a buy situation or a sell situation? After the inflation report and after the debate, which didn't go so well. Let's start out with inflation. CPI did go down drastically. Okay, 2.9% in July, down to 2.5%. That's a big 0.4% drop. That's a huge drop. So that's good. But that's headline inflation. Core inflation did not drop at all. Stayed at 3.2%. So, it's a pretty good reading. It's a really good reading. Powell always said he wanted to see inflation between 2 to 3%, right? 2 to 3. And we're right there. Like, there's nothing else that we need at this point. Looking at the Fed watch, right? Somehow that CPI print jumped the percentage up for the 25 basis point rather than 50 basis point. So now we're at 15 for 25 basis or 50 basis point, 85 for 25 basis point. I don't know why. The CPI print was actually pretty darn good. It just didn't go lower than expected, I guess, right? I don't know. I kind of thought that the 50 basis point would jump up, but it did not. Oh, well. It is what it is. Europe is going to have their rate cut before the U.S. So anyways, bottom line is this. We're going to have some rate cuts coming, okay? The U.S. one will come next week. It's not as much as everyone wants. But then again, some analysts have said that, hey, if Powell does cut 50 basis points, it actually cause more panic. It'll cause more damage than good. And then we'll have the ECB that's also cutting. And then other countries around the world, they're all going to be cutting. And overall, when the liquidity starts flowing, it's going to be good for assets like Bitcoin, right? So looking forward to it. Well, this is pretty interesting. If you look at performance of major assets and asset classes, this is everything, including gold, equities, Bitcoin, bonds, whatever. So you notice that there are certain years where Bitcoin does not lead. And those happen to come right after the parabolic top, right? So they come after when crypto winter hits. But you may notice that every other year, Bitcoin leads and it's not even close. Some of those years, we see thousands of percent gain, right? It's very common. So again, if you didn't know anything about Bitcoin and you're just looking at this and you're looking at the performance of the last 13 years, what would you guess 2024 be? And what would you guess 2025 be in terms of the asset that's going to lead the way, right? If this was an IQ test, what would you actually say? Would you think anything else outperforms Bitcoin this year or even next year? The answer is no. Bitcoin does what it does. There's a lot of, I've always said this, a lot of distractions, a lot of things, macro stuff that's always ongoing. There's always scary things, but Bitcoin is pure and Bitcoin does its thing and it does not have emotions and it just keeps on going. And that's why when you zoom out, you realize that Bitcoin is the best performing asset, annualized returns of 140% year over year over year. Yeah, you have some bad years, but predominantly they're all good years. So you just have to be patient and let things play out. In the last 2 months, 236,000 Bitcoin has been withdrawn from exchanges. The the exchange reserves continue to drop and drop and drop and drop. In fact, yesterday we had a 750 million net outflow, very significant. And this is the biggest reason why Bitcoin's price continues to go up and has that 140% annualized return, is because there's more demand than supply. Bitcoin's inflation keeps getting cut in half every 4 years, and there is a set supply of 21 million that ever will be. That's it. It's really that simple. And as more and more people come to learn and adopt and buy Bitcoin, the higher the price is going to go, right? It's really that simple. But, now we're accelerated because we had the ETFs. Yesterday was actually a really good day. Surprising to see BlackRock had no inflow, but others had inflow, and we had $117 million inflow. Again, contributing to the massive amount of Bitcoin being withdrawn from the exchanges. And that will never stop. It will continue on forever. And eventually the reserves are going to get so low, it basically becomes impossible for retail investors to accumulate a good amount of Bitcoin. Right now, it's already difficult. In the future, when Bitcoin's well into 6 digits, it becomes much, much harder. And someday it'll hit 7 digits and become that much harder.